Hello. Like many, I've been watching the unfolding of developments in Canada with, well, I don't suppose it's hyperbolic to say watching it with mounting horror. Yesterday, I saw Gad Saad on YouTube telling us how he's even thinking of getting out of Canada, the land of his refuge, because of the similarity he could see to the escalating horror of developments in his native Lebanon all those years ago. You could hear the wounds just opening up and bleeding through everything he said. A couple of days before that, Jordan Peterson made an address via YouTube to the present Canadian government, advising them that they should back off and accommodate. Surely someone in the government would have seen that, but Trudeau's response was to refer to a Jewish member of parliament as someone who stands with swastika wavers. And then I heard that people, ordinary people, who'd contributed a few dollars to the Truckers Fund are finding their bank accounts blocked. This isn't people with megabucks. This is just people who've contributed, $25, $30, something like that. I did talk about the possibility of this sort of financial warfare against the citizenry in my last video, but it has now, it seems, become a reality. What's so shocking is the speed with which tyranny has overtaken that previously relaxed, peaceful and polite country. Of course, it wasn't as fast as all that, was it? This is something that's been growing for months, actually years. But like the boiled frog analogy, it's something nobody noticed until suddenly it got very hot indeed. I know that because one of my Canadian colleagues that I had written to asking if they could tell me more about the situation, he got back to me yesterday, and I'm reading his response to my question with his permission, although I'm removing any reference to him or where he is. And so here's his letter. The truckers' doings in Ottawa, Windsor and at other border crossings matter in two of the most important ways possible for the Canadian polity. Adapted from the Canada Union Act that united Upper and Lower Canada, the motto on which the Confederation was founded is peace, order and good government. The gatherings that have caught the attention of the world's stupid and lazy press are a standing offence against order, never mind the merits. And then in the cause, both proximate and distal, of this disjuncture lies the larger violence of bad government. Now, our teenage Prime Minister has declared emergency powers that so exceed necessity and constitutionality and incite hard feelings with defamation, condescension and abuse straight out of the Biden playbook. He not only risks but actually seeks an arrow in the heart of peace. Sonny shares with the first Trudeau a visceral contempt for the inherited and cherished Britishness of Canada's governance. I found that very interesting because Tim Pool actually speculated that Biden and Trudeau are doing this deliberately in order to create enough disruption so that they can remodel society. And this fellow, I nearly gave his name, this fellow seems to be of a similar opinion, that the first Trudeau hated the British character of Canada, and his son, possibly, is carrying on this tradition in an attempt to overturn that. Pierre injured the country badly with the Constitution Act of 1982, committing the French intellectual sin of thinking that everything that matters in law can be written down in one go. What this fellow is referring to is English common law, which became British common law, and it's a way of codifying laws that changes with time, for instance, that relies on precedent but is not hidebound by it. And of course, the Code Napoleon, the French idea was you can tell everybody what they can do all in one go, and that's it. And of course, that idea is very common on the continent, in continental Europe. And I have spoken about this before. That's one of the big differences between Britain and the rest of Europe, and one of the reasons why the EU was not really suitable for the British way of doing things, and why, therefore, it was important that Britain should get out, because there was this tension between common law and the sort of Code Napoleon which still runs the European continent. Anyway, back to this letter. Pierre committed the French intellectual sin of thinking that everything that matters in law can be written down in one go, and under conditions, as in this case, which preclude all practicable measures for amendment. Sonny also shares his pater's dismissal of Parliament, and under false invocations of pandemic necessity has been mismanaging the country from his cottage. Pierre was a great pal of Castro, whose bastard son Sonny is taken to be, however inaccurately. You know, it doesn't matter if Justin Trudeau is Castro's son. Psychologically, he is. And that's why I feel quite comfortable about referring to him as Castro's son. And like his dad, Sonny is a large admirer of China's ways of making big things happen quickly. He did actually say that. He said China, and this was a few years ago when China was still not an international pariah, he said China was much to be admired because it did big things quickly. And it did. The only trouble is, if any of you have seen any of those Serpentza videos, you will also see that the big things include huge cities, huge building projects that are 3 years old and falling down because they've been done quickly, but they haven't been done well. And you can say that about a lot of other things in China. Anyway, the Marxist left has taken destructive hold of the United States at its every choke point. Sonny's government is Biden light. Actually, it isn't. It's Biden very much heavy. Biden has some opposition. Trudeau doesn't seem to have any. That's a question in Parliament today, or yesterday, or very close in time anyway, from a Conservative Party member who happened to be Jewish and who Trudeau then insulted. That's the first I've heard of serious opposition. There's this woman called Candice Bergen. She's been opposing all the time, but there hasn't been any concerted effort. And at the end of January, Jordan Peterson made another video in which he said to the opposition parties, come on, this is your chance. Trudeau is hiding from the people. He's run away. He's using spurious excuses about being in contact with COVID or something. So why don't you actually bring the government to account? But nothing seemed to happen. Does nobody listen to Professor Peterson? I don't know whether he's still a professor anymore now. Well, never mind. So this chap says Sonny's government is Biden light, but he's not Biden light because Biden had opposition. This guy doesn't seem to have any at all. even with all the people in the streets, the opposition parties are by no means doing what they could do to get this government to act properly. Anyway, so, and my country's oh, yes, that's what he said. And my country's intellectuals have followed suit. We have met the enemy, and it is ourselves. Yeah, I'm very surprised that the people I have heard interviewed and talking about the situation, they have been all on the side of, well, more or less on the side of Trudeau. I can't understand it. This fellow refers to it as the Trahison des Clercs, which is a reference to a book by a philosopher called Julian Bender, who wrote about the treachery of the intellectuals in 1927. He could see that coming. Anyway, and he finishes with, in days of yore, Pierre loved to discuss political philosophy in friendly chinwags with Chu En Lai. Okay, so that's my letter from Canada. Not terribly hopeful, is it? All right, well, yeah, I'm not going to monetize this video, so you won't get this interrupted by ads. And I just want to remind you, I'm Grannyopteryx. I have my Twitter handle and my Gab handle and my Parler handle is @Grannyopteryx. So if you want to get notifications of my videos and you don't get them from the platform you're looking at, then just sign up for Twitter or Gab or Parler or something, and you'll get notifications from me personally. And check your subscription, share the video, and support the channel any way you can. And well, till next time. Why not treat yourself or a favoured relative or friend to these magnificent examples of merch? The mugs and t-shirts come in the Grannyopteryx design or Granbo with a firearm or the more deadly knitting needles. Go to www.grannyopteryx.com and whatever platform you're watching this on, please click like, subscribe and share, share, share.